In short, you're here because you want to be productive. You want to be the smart guy. You want to plan things and execute like no one else. I understand this self-growth mindset inside you. You are always seeking information from different sources. Hence, this video will be a very compounded knowledge of how you can plan things in a very scientific way backed with evidence. We will impose a hierarchy of elements that you need to master. Then we will dive deep into those single elements. Get your pen and paper because we are diving deep in this video. Also, the special document is linked in the description. Look at the basic framework. Here you have a hierarchy of staircase, I believe, and that's your finished goal. You wanna achieve something or some element or tangible entity that you really dream for. While going through the staircase, you need to be very conscious about your planning, about the systems that you are imposing, and how you troubleshoot things. These are the things that really sets a very solid framework for your planning in any sort of scenario. And throughout these staircases, I've listed some things which I'll talk in this triangle. These are kind of the same things within that. It literally builds up the foundational mindset or the foundational elements that you need to be really productive and plan in the best way possible. Here's the hierarchy of elements. There are 5 sectors in this video. The first is a clear goal and mapping. This is the most important thing, right? And the second hierarchy, a clear source of info. That's the second element. And the third hierarchy, a clear execution. And the fourth hierarchy, troubleshooting. And the fifth, results. All of these things is a very single element of your entire productivity ideology to help you plan ahead. All of these is only related with planning in the most scientific way possible. All right, I believe planning is composed of 3 elements, whatever you say, or subject. That is one specific goal. There can be many goals, but there should be one main primary goal. Several systems that goes into this, and the journey throughout the plan. This is what comprises planning. All right, all of these can be summarized into a growth mindset. You'll understand why did I write this throughout this video. The first one, and that is a clear goal and mapping. This is the fundamental process that I like to follow. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is, planning should be the first, and then secondly mapping, and then thirdly tweaking, and then fourthly the application, right? These are A or 1, planning. So what does it really mean? Here you have start and here you have end. Entire process between these things is called planning. Now, planning can be defined or should be defined by goal. How do you find your goal? You already have this vague idea inside your brain of planning things and how to really plan, right? How to really do that? Ask yourself questions. I believe these questions really helps me a lot. So to find the single goal, you have to ask, what is my true benefit or outcome? Not the goal, like what is my benefit that I'm trying to looking for? Like what is the good thing that is going to happen to me in my life and my surroundings, right? Try to answer that in your brain or in your notes. How bad do I want it? Like, is it really important? How will this change things, right? If it's something related with study related, this should also work. Then you do not need to really focus onto that. But like whenever you're starting something, for example, for me, creating this YouTube video and this YouTube channel, and all of you guys are really showing so much appreciation nowadays, I really needed to have a single straightforward plan of what things I want to make, what are the target audiences I should target. Like you guys are watching till now, you are my target audience. And how will I provide you guys value from my own life, from the things that I read, from the things that I infer from online sources as well, and compound this. All of these has a single main plan, and that is getting to the perfect audience with a perfect type of video. I will quote a very nice quote from a very favorite book of mine, and that is Finish by John Acuff. And he says that choosing a goal you believe will be enjoyable increases your likelihood of satisfaction by 31%. You see my other videos, all of these, I focus a lot on winning and mainly on being so much happy, because I think when you're happy with something, when you try to be happy, when you try to be more efficient, you somewhat become more productive, because it creates this sort of feeling that, I don't know, it just works so much and is backed by evidence that happiness leads to productivity. To find the single goal, right? These questions will define the single goal. So we have the number 1 element of the planning, Now, secondly, we ask these questions. What are all the actions related to this goal? List down. What are all the actions? You'll need to list this thing because it's not a like you don't do it, because these are the things that you will do throughout your plan. Or what is the expected time needed for each? Now you have the actions related to this goal. Thirdly, moving on to that, like using these answers, you will ask yourself, how many can I finish each day and total time which is needed? List it down, as we now have the time needed. So we only needed these three elements: the single goal, the actions related, and the time needed for the planning section, right? But let's be aware of this, the planning fallacy. Planning fallacy is defined as a quirk of human psychology that makes us chronically kind of underestimate the time that we're going to need for a specific task or a project, right? So whenever you're planning for this, try to think of it like, man, am I over expecting on myself? I think I should really give a little bit more time. So be more flexible with that, all right? This quote is derived from a very too much good, but kind of a good book, and that is called The Deadline Effect: How to Work Like It's the Last Minute Before the Last Minute. It has some good insights. Here, what we have. So planning, single main goal with purpose, the actions related, and the time needed. Now, the question is, Mahir, I'm showing you so many of these things. How to really execute these things rather than knowing all of these things all together, right? To execute this, noting down on Notion / digitally or in paper, right? That's very easy. You just write these things down. Not the thing that I'm teaching right now, but rather write these three things whenever you're planning a big project. Or here now, voila. Secondly, which is mapping. Here you have a start and end. So your journey will not be a straight line. Your journey will be something like this, right? And within those journey, you'll have things inside this. You'll have places. You'll have resources and things and execution that you need to do throughout these entire journey. Mapping can be depicted as mind maps. See, I am teaching you this lecture or this video in a mind map document. I think it's really important that you understand the power of mind maps. And all of these five rules must be actionable. They must have an entire process simplified, provide problems to solutions, can be tweakable, it must be tweakable, and provide relevant linkages. See, I'm asking, why am I here? If you implement these 5 steps or rules to your mind maps, you will automatically master the skill of making mind maps. It's just a process of practicing so many times over. So, like the start and the outcome, right? You already know the start and what's the outcome. We talked about in the planning sector. Between those, you have the actions, right? These actions will define the mapping or the mind map that you're going to build, right? Also, you also have like the estimated subtext and the time taken for this, right? Actions define the mind maps or the mapping for your mapping. Let me give you an example. Let's say I need to make a YouTube video where I include my knowledge about productivity from books and also interview Mr. XYZ. So it's an area of process. It's a very big project. It doesn't sound like one, but I'll show you how it really can be mind mapped. No plans yet. This is your start, and the end is a published video, right? This is your entire process. Now, how do I make it to a mind map? Let's move on to this. This is a mind map. I'll try to go very fast for you guys, all right? So no plans yet. So on Sunday, you brainstorm title ideas. Then you make a content framework. So you make the content framework, you gather sources, you ready 4 quotations from book. For myself, in my case, I give 4 quotations. Select storytelling framework. There are several frameworks that you can use to make your story appeal. And then you study on that topic. So that's for Sunday, right? Then you make a file, and in that file, you do this. So on Monday, you create the keynote or the presentation main file. Then you take pictures for the thumbnails. You just take pictures, you don't edit the thumbnail, right? And then you draft the mail to invite the guest that you're interviewing, right? Remember I said that Mr. XYZ, you interview him or her. Then you send the mail with a plan, right? And what will the mail have? Which is very important. Cite the books that you will use. Include a timing to follow up. You need to follow up with them. So on Tuesday, a follow-up email will be sent because this is linked to Tuesday's work. On Tuesday, you'll create the interview questions, right? So once you create the interview questions, you need to send them prior to the meeting, and that's better for the person, right? So you send them on Tuesday with a follow-up mail, including these interview questions. See how I'm linking things. I didn't link it on the first. As time went, as the process went further, I found relevant linkages that made sense. You need to have this idea of what makes sense. Wednesday, you shoot the video and you edit the thumbnail. What should the thumbnail be? It should be tacky, icons of three, and idea of solving. And on Thursday, you edit the video. When you edit the video, after you do that, you give credits in YouTube description and then you upload. And what happens after Thursday? You publish the video. That's it. And from that published video, you make a reflection. That reflection will go into the initial file that you have made. So this is just literally an example, right? How to execute this again. So you have this simple planning. Just I'm summarizing things so it's easier for you. The single main goal, the action related, and the time needed. Right? Have the planning and you note down on Notion. Same way, under that file, you will include this mind map of your planning. We're here. Mapping and planning is done, and you're here in terms of expert planning or execution, whatever you say it. Tweaking. All right, society tells you should not tweak your goals or plans, whereas experts say, in the books as I've read as well, that tweak goals to make it achievable. You need to finish things rather than starting things and not doing it and being sad all the time. If you're unhappy with progress, the book suggests a very cool idea. That is, tweak any of these three or maybe three of these. Tweak the final goal or the final outcome, tweak the timeline, like the progress timings, or the actions. Final goal, the timeline, or the actions related with it. These three things actually define a plan or a goal, and you can tweak any of these three things. Now, don't say to yourself that I'm gonna watch anime for the rest of the day and do a little bit of my goals. No, that's not how the thing works. You need to be self-accountable to yourself. That will keep you forward, if that makes sense. So I believe tweaking also comes with adding sources to your mind maps, changing the pathways that you're moving through, reallocating actions, and changing timelines. Or take a note of these. However, whenever you're unhappy with these goals that you're trying to achieve, I do specifically three of these things if it's relevant, either the goal or the timeline or the actions. Simple as that. Then now here's the thing that I've really realized out of the blue, and that is experimentation makes an ordinary human being extraordinary. What do you think sets apart people? They already graduated from the same university as you did. How are they millionaires and billionaires, and why am I a brokey? Because Bezos and Ali and Elon and many other guys believed a lot in experimentation, to be more inclined to experimentation. Now, this is the thing that I made, right? The mind map. Now, I was talking about tweaking things or adding things. So what did I add? Study, research paper number dash dash dash. And then, so the red markers are added things. Decided books won't be given. Now, I changed the timing from Tuesday to Wednesday, and I'm gonna take 2 days, right? And the Thursday's task will be done on Friday, right? And then when I'm starting sources, link a previous video as well. See, you're adding things, you're tweaking things, you're changing things. So your mind map must be changeable, tweakable, and actionable. It must give a very broad idea, detailed idea of how you're going to move with pathways. Now, here's a quote about making things more playful. It's very important, to be honest. So if we want to harness the revolutionary effects of play, our second step is to seek out fun everywhere we go. And that starts by paying a visit to Disneyland version of Edwardian London. It's from the book Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. What does it say? It really talks about the relation between productivity and happiness, which I am talking about every single time. Now we are at here. The planning, mapping, and tweaking done. And now the application. So, application. What does it mean? So here's you, right? You have ideas, plans, and tracking all messed over the place without a system. And now here's you. You have ideas, plans denoted into systems, and ideas related with tracking. This simple thing. And this is literally with a system, because you cannot establish this thing without a system. So what is the system that I'm talking about? This thing can be said like somewhat of a systematic application which will lead you to proper execution. Once you have something that allows you to track those metrics, and even if you don't track, once you are habituated with taking notes in a certain way, that should say you that you are systematically applying those things, and that equals to a proper execution in your real life. So what am I really talking about? I'll give you guys a more in-depth showcase of my own system that I've used to plan things, to execute things, and literally is my productivity. Here's the thing: the lesser strain of your effort, the easier it is to execute this planning system. What am I really talking about? So if you have so much project management stress, like your stress is increasing as the X value is going on the right, your effective execution of the things, which is really the things that will be helpful to your daily to daily life, will decrease as the stress increases. So as stress increases, the management stress, your execution or application will decrease. Simple sense: if you're working too hard, if you're having a hard time doing all of the steps that I'm showing you guys, then I must say that the amount of things, the amount of productivity that you want to harness will decrease. The amount of things that you will apply in your life will decrease. That is an inversely proportional curve. Now, I believe application is only successful when you are not a perfectionist, you keep track of things, you focus on systems. Here's a start and here's an end, start to end. Whatever is explained before, if you harness those things in your life and apply to this very strategically through a notes or a system, you will have proper execution. I believe you don't need to have a very complicated system at this stage. Take a piece of paper and pen and just believe in yourself. Trust me, you don't need big systems, big noting systems that I've used and still using, but it really helps my life as well. But you don't really need that, because I didn't start with that. I literally started with that some months ago, to be honest. Start with pen and paper, and trust me, pen and paper can do the job. Don't listen to gurus that saying that, oh, it will not work, use this thing, use that thing. Yes, it's good, but it's not. You're at the end stage of the first sector. Now, I'll promise, I will try to be more faster from this section onward. This thing is done. Now, a clear source of info, the second sector of this video. By the way, if you want to know what defines productivity, this is a very simple triangle that should tell you what is a productivity. And this thing will actually help you get ahead of 90% of people in terms of productivity. If not 99%, at least 90% at all cost. So the foundation should be mindset, which pertains to happiness, wins, and execution, and then planning, process, mapping, application, systems, saving times, resources, tracking, troubleshooting, tackling process problems and avoiding those problems in newer ways, and then finishing, not procrastinating, and overcoming perfectionism. These 5 things defines the entire self-growth journey of an individual. We are now filming, well, this video is about planning. I have a video on mindset, which will be linked here, and also finishing. The next 2 videos on systems and troubleshooting will come soon, so stay updated for those videos. So, a clear source of info. So what is that? You'll need to have a source, and then secondly, you'll need to use those sources to implement or implementation in your systems, planning, execution, goals, or whatever. The question is, why do you need a source? Your process will be more enhanced, you'll have the process which will be more faster, you'll have a higher probability of success, you'll have an easier life. To be honest, it's 100% truth. You'll have a convincible ideology to tell yourself that, okay, this thing should work. You'll have a whole lot of self-belief in yourself, which is extremely needed. And then you'll have problems which will solve kind of on its own, and it will help you to solve problems, right? Sources needed for 2 reasons: enhancing the systems or solving problems. There can be 3 forms of sources in this context that we are in 2024 right now. Specific videos on certain problems, specific videos on certain systems, online answers on certain stucks that you encountered throughout your journey. All right, so I wrote clear. What does this clear really mean? I mean that following 3 to 5 set of individuals for a specific type of reason. I follow some of the guys out here for a specific sort of reason. I'm not gonna say who, but these 3 to 5 people I watch every single day, or not every single day, but at least every 3 days, to help me understand the science of productivity, gather more knowledge, help me solve problems on my own and build up the mindset. And you need this to help you propel more forward. The implementation in simple steps. So this is you, and you find a problem and then you find the solution. Now you break down it into several actionable steps, not one or two, but several actionable steps. I repeat, several actionable steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that should determine the time and the process needed for those actions. Now you find up a way, how many time do you need, right? That should make you opposed to making a mini diagram. You don't have to, but it's better if you do. And then you add that mini diagram to the bigger mind map that I showed you, right? You add those actionable steps or systems in that mind map. You need to add that. That's very important, right? Then you note the deadlines and then you keep continuing the execution. Voila, that's literally, that's force implementation. I keep my promise of making this sector smaller. I'm trying my best. Let's see how the other sectors go. Okay, thirdly, a clear execution. So execution means doing the inner steps with ease and doing the goals and process and actions and tracking all simultaneously. It's kind of hard at the beginning. You don't need to track everything at the beginning. Start slow, just start. You'll automatically understand how systems work. Execution fails, to be honest. It is proven, by the way, in a scientific way, because we supersize our goals at first. And that is really due to toxic perfectionism. And it's said in the book Probably Finish by John Acuff. And that leads to us becoming only starters but not finishers. You don't want to be a starter and not finish things, right? You need to be a finisher. So here's the 3 process that I follow. The variables to track in my systems, finishing things, and the system. These are the 3 things that we're going to cover. Variables to track. What are the things to track that should define your productivity, your planning, your scheduling, every single thing? In process, the start and end goal and outcome, actions and tasks related with it, the mind map, the timeline or deadlines, and when they're finished, the information. Don't get overwhelmed because tracking these things does not take a lot of time when you have a system. For now, just do the first 3 things. Trust me, you'll already be ahead of 85% of people. They don't even do that. Why am I telling you to do this, right? This will psychologically promote and provoke your brain to execute the things associated with it, if that makes sense. And it is the idea also imposed by this book that I've written, which is Finished by John Acuff, and also this book that I've written is called Deadline Effect, and also this book that I've written, and that is called Feel Good Productivity. These are the 3 books that really talks about the idea of productivity, deadlines, and finishing things. Okay, for B, and which is the finishing things. So we always start, as I said, but 90% of us do not finish, right? So what's a one-word solution for that? So from this book, it says you can either quit the goal because it was too big or cut it in half and finish it. Literally. So let's say you have a goal of reading, let's say 60 books a year. It's possible. It's possible. Now, you somehow read 50 books. So there are 52 weeks in a year. You read almost 1 book a week. Is it that too bad? But you're still frustrated because you didn't read 10 more books to reach that 60 books goal. You know what should you do? You should cut your goals into half. You should cut them into like 25 or 30 books a year. Now, when you read 1 book every single week, I'm not saying I do that, but at least have like 40 to 45 books, even if you miss so many weeks. And you're already ahead of whatever goal that you've set before. Set something which you know that you will over track it, you will overdo that or like overachieve that will create this happy feeling inside you. Oh my god, I achieved this goal and did better. That will propel you. Trust me, it works. Just cut your goal in half. That's the single best evidence that I've got from that book. It's kind of really is defining me what I need to do right now. The 3 things, that is the urgency effect. The idea is that people behave as if pursuing urgent tasks has its own appeal beyond their objective consequences. We do things that are not really important at the moment of time. So what is the solution? The idea is that reminding people of the final outcomes of a specific thing, which is termed outcome salience, before they make their choice and can diminish the mere urgency effect. What is the outcome salience? We always have this vague idea of what will be the outcome. So going to set aside this thing, set aside this idea, and tell myself, what is my priority right now? Do I really need to do that thing? Once you eliminate these things, you'll be able to finish things more precisely, and you'll be able to reach those deadlines more perfectly. This is actually related with deadlines. Now, the deadline effect. So what is the deadline effect? The problem is that as soon as you set a deadline, work tends to get delayed until right before time expires. So what's the solution to that? Breaking down the deadlines into shorter chunks. You know what I do? I don't set a deadline in my calendar that, oh, upload a video on this Saturday, 30th Saturday, whatever that is. No, I break down those into several steps and set micro deadlines throughout the week into specific actions that helps me give a soft reminder and I get the job done within time or even before the time. And making it more fun using soft reminders is something that should be implemented, I believe. This is the word of the book. And thirdly, progress versus perfectionism. This is a thing that you need to know to finish things. So I believe progress is quiet. It whispers, it compounds slowly. We need to enhance and embrace progress. So when perfectionism hunts for instant success and it somehow screams failure and hides the progress, perfectionism tells you that things are not working out. Perfectionism is a toxic element in your life, in my life, in everyone's life. The author says that without data, the progress visually disappears, creating this doubt inside our mind. See, tracking has a lot of benefits, I told you before as well. So what's the solution? Use overlapping tracking and compounding form of data tracking to psychologically keep going on. So how to track? You can track very simply or in a very complicated way. I'll show you the complicated way, but in simple tracking, you can take out your diary and like literally make check boxes every single day on 2, 3, or 4, 5 elements highest to track things. It really defines upon you what you're trying to do. Now, that is the system that I was talking about. Alright, this is the next day that I'm filming this video, so let's move into the system that I've been using. So this is my Notion system. It looks very, what do I say, like machinized and very critical, but I'll try to go through it, but there will be another special video for this system. So this is my Life OS in Notion, and that's my daily tasks calendar. This is the place where I store my daily tasks, like everyday tasks that I need to do, somewhat of a repetitive or one-day thing. And it has the planned timeline, a timer, and the time tracking as well, how many breaks have I took, etc. And that is literally linked to my calendar. It literally shows here. This is for September 2024, but it literally shows in my calendar. So it works as a daily task folder as well as time blocks throughout this day. Now, a page called the daily scrapbook. So if I open that, for example, this is the daily tasks or scrapbook, whatever you say it. This is a page that opens or creates every single day on its own. Here I have today's time blocks and projected tasks for today and before, like tasks which are already defined before, like something which is special or related with a project. And the green light means it is due today, and the red light means it's already past their deadline and it still needs to be done, right? These are the tasks that you need to do within a project or without a project, a task which needs to be done in the future, or like something which is special, not like a daily task. And you can like link this task in the daily time blocks to make it more convenient to add yourself in the calendar. It's not a very big hassle once you have the system implemented in it. Here I have my 3 wins logging section, my projected task and logging my task, etc. I used to use this scratch pads and etc. This works like a digital charm as well. Now let's move on to notes. I have a whole system on notes as well. I'll not go very deep into that. What's due today? Here you can see like I have all tasks, today's tasks, tomorrow's tasks, 7 days tasks, missed tasks, and cold tasks. Now if I have a new task, I can inbox it here. That also works. Now I follow a system called the pair runs, that is projects, areas, resources, archive, notes, and study. It's very convenient. Here are all my archives and what are the folders that go in here. It's very organized. Let's say for example this is projects, so this is an ongoing project that's going on, right? Study systems research, 6 active, 1 overdue, 50% of the tasks are done. Within this page there are several tasks that is related with this project, and those tasks are viewed right here. in the everyday tasks or projected tasks as well. And these are my areas. I link a lot of things, and I also link notes to these areas, and I have resources here. I have second brain database and book knowledge summaries. This is a whole new system. Each of these have been compounded from several YouTubers like Ali Abdal, and there's this guy for Notion Expert. All of their knowledges are compounded to my own single thing that I've been trying to build for a lot of time. And it's a whole systematic system that really keeps me very motivated, very updated, and very efficient, and very much happy and productive throughout the day and throughout the weeks and throughout the months. I'm so happy for this, to be honest. Stay tuned for an entire release of the system that I use every single day to manage every single thing in my life and really be more happy, rather than making it so much, what do I say, like overwhelming, that oh my god, it's not gonna work out. It's not like that. It's very easy and more actionable, at least to me. The last or the second last stage, and that is troubleshooting, right? This is very important for you. The idea is it's either from a clear source of info that we talked about, or doing it yourself. Once you have a clear source of info, you'll have like this online source within yourself that will help you to implement. Like if a clear source of info will give you online sources, and from online sources you will lead yourself to implementation. So once you have a problem, you troubleshoot that problem using that online source. So the number A, it can be doing it yourself. How do we do it yourself? That's what I'm talking about. I define troubleshooting is required when progress feels harder, problem doesn't solve, outcome isn't aligned. If you face any of these three conditions or situations, you will need to understand that you need troubleshooting in your life to fix that particular thing, problem, situation, scenario, whatever that is, right? So if progress feels harder, you can solve it by tweaking these three as I've talked about, either changing the goal, changing the timeline, and changing the actions. And now, if the problem doesn't solve, you find the problem in the stage of the mind map. The mind map that you are using, find where the problem is occurring, right? Now you ask yourself, why did it occur? You find an answer, ask based on that, why did it occur? Once you find an answer, why did that occur? Once you dive deep down and find the core problem, then you need to know what's the true fundamental that you are missing out that needs to be resolved. This can be done by yourself only. Then you can find the core problem. And once you have the core problem, you can either tweak the goal, tweak the timeline, or tweak the actions. And it is in turn related with online sources. Once you find something, once you find a very core problem, that can also be solved by online sources, and then you can move on to implementation, if that makes sense. If the outcome isn't aligned, sometimes the outcome that you wanted didn't really come across you, what do you need to do? You can ask yourself, did the outcome match my benefits? Yes or no? In what way? List the ways it differed in yes or no. Like literally list the ways, if that's very important. Now you make a Venn diagram. You know what a Venn diagram? Like this. Finding outcome and benefits aligned. A new intersection should be your action implemented goal. So you have a Venn diagram here. You find the answers to your yes and no. What are the reasons? Why are the yes or no? Like you list them out, list them out. And once you find a core problem that didn't align, and you find that, okay, this had to be something like this, so I need to find this thing, and this has the intersection related with this thing. So these are the actions that you will now list in order to find the intersection between these yes or no, whatever that you're trying to find. So again, I know it's getting critical, but once you list the ways that it differed in both ways and you have an intersection, okay, these are the things that didn't really align and these are the things that align, and there's an intersection between 2 or 3 variables. It doesn't have to be limited with yes or no. And once you find the intersection, ask several whys throughout the process, and then you can find the real outcome that will define the new set of actions that you need to make to get that outcome. Okay, the last and foremost sector, and that is results. It's kind of important, to be honest. So let's say that you're doing a project, goal, plan, implementation, whatever that is. You celebrate the outcomes. That's the main thing. You have to be happy. You have to celebrate the outcomes. Now that project You'll analyze the mind map that you have made. You analyze mistakes, problems, new systems that you've implemented, whatever you have learned new, sources and things to fix. That's very important. And new systems is also very important. These will harness your next capability of planning things more nicely and executing them like no one else. Results drive power, action, motivation, and happiness. So you use these things as a new source for the next plan. As in what? For idea generation, for solutions, for complexing things more, for getting lessons or creating lessons as well. That should lead you to make a new project or plan, and the cycle should continue. You learn something, you add it. You learn something, you add it. You make new something, you learn something from that, add it. Like literally, this cycle continues. You make a new plan, make this, add it to the next plan. From that, you gather sources, add it to the next plan, and the next plan, and the next plan. I think you guys get it, what I'm trying to say. All right, so the document is finished, and I'm really relieved that you guys have stuck through the end of the video, because you have probably found it useful or at least helpful, even if a bit. Now my point, why am I looking at the iPad? Now my urgent request or urge to you guys is that don't hassle or hustle way too much. Go with a slow, steady pace, see what's best for you, see what's working, see what's not working, see the scientific reasons behind your brain's capability, how it responds and how it doesn't respond, and how it really like engages with certain information. Once you're aware of that, your journey in planning, executing, and focusing things more productively and having those success in your life will significantly change the present situation. And most of the videos that I try to upload, I try to include a document, not at all times. Who is yelling? Anyways, so see you in the next video, guys, and have a good day or a good night or good midnight, whatever that is. Bye bye.